Hi everyone, my name is Iman Shakur. I'm from Saudi Arabia. I'm the founder and CEO of Blossom Accelerator. We're Saudi Arabia and MENA's first female-focused and tech inclusion accelerator. Therefore, naturally, I thought it would only be appropriate that the first screen I start with, I have the photos of all the powerful, confident, amazing women that have been on the cover of Forbes, because I'm a believer in that. You can't be what you can't see, right? And if there's no examples of people in power or women in power, then it's kind of hard for you to get to that place. So today I'm going to talk to you about everything it takes for you to feel, especially if you're young in your 20s. I'm 27. I'll talk a little bit about my journey and anything. I'm going to be sharing everything that can help you a little bit get closer to confidence, get closer to power, and definitely get closer to seizing opportunity. In fact, every single kind of opportunity. So first off, before I dive into how to really create this whole seizing opportunity, I promise I've really simplified it. I want to tell you guys a little bit more about who I am so we can connect. So like I mentioned, I'm from Saudi Arabia. I grew up in a city named Jeddah. If you haven't heard of Jeddah, we're a city in Saudi Arabia on the west coast on the beautiful Red Sea. You can see the Red Sea here. Growing up in Jeddah was really phenomenal. It's such a multicultural city. And then it's a city on the coast on the Red Sea. So I grew up snorkeling and diving. And in the spring, the coral would turn purple and orange and pink and red. And it was a beautiful place to grow up in.
Just pop it in here, Iman. I think people can't see your screen.
Oh, people can't see my screen anymore?
No.
Okay, interesting. Well, let's troubleshoot that. Can you see my screen now?
No.
Okay.
Yes, I think.
We will address this. Thank you for the whole time you haven't seen my screen or just now? Can you see this
For the
now?
whole time. No, I can't see it yet.
Interesting. Okay. I shall troubleshoot this. No worries. How about now?
Perfect. Now it works. And I'm leaving you again.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this was the first screen with the cover of all the women on Forbes magazine. This is the second screen. This is my hometown, Jeddah. And it's also the gateway to Mecca. Mecca is really the center of so much of Islam. So every single year during a specific month, Hajj, so many different pilgrims, millions and millions of people from different ethnicities and cultures that speak different languages would come through Jeddah to go to Mecca. And so that was so much part of my childhood, so much of my life growing up that helped shape my worldview. But then alternatively, even though my family and I are from Saudi, like many other families from Jeddah, we're pretty multicultural, and we would spend our summers in Los Angeles, California, which is very different from Saudi, from many different ways. And for me personally, I kind of had this interesting East versus West perspective growing up. And the most maybe interesting thing about this is, obviously, if you've been following the news, there's been so many different changes that have happened in the last 3-4 years in Saudi Arabia. But growing up, it was kind of a different place. It felt very difficult to grow up there, especially as a woman, and the inequalities really were very much felt and were greatly part of everyone's lives, including mine. And then on the other hand, you could say, oh, but like I'm sure Los Angeles was different. To some extent, but then in others, not really. I've always been in tech and in all the products that I've used, tech products and software. I always thought to myself, all these huge companies, everyone behind them tends to be a man. I wonder where all the women, is it that there are just not enough women? And like even in the US, like why don't we hear as many companies that are huge that, stem from women as well? So all over, whether I was East, whether I was West, I felt this burden of inequality. So I, at the time, obviously didn't know what to do about it, but I was fascinated by humans and social cognition and how we think. And I decided to pursue my bachelor's in cognitive science with a specialization in neuroscience, and specifically study mirror neurons, which are these really interesting neurons in the brain that fire when we connect as humans. Because I also believe that regardless of geography, regardless of, if you're in East, if you're in West, I don't know, maybe we have different participants that are from all over the world. I think we actually share more commonalities than differences. So I was interested to study this kind of neurons and understand how really we can connect as humans. After graduation, I still was really into the whole tech thing. So I worked for a tech startup named Kareem. It was the fastest growing tech startup in MENA that was later acquired by Uber. And I also started a few of my ventures myself. And in being part of the ecosystem, whether it was in California starting companies or back in Saudi starting companies, I realized, again, a lot of similarities. For example, in the MENA region, women who go on to receive VC funding or investment for their startups are only 5.1%, super sad. And in Silicon Valley, the number's not much better, it's about 2.7. Although on average, 40% of all startups across different regions compared to the US or the MENA region is actually 40%. So you can't even say, oh, well, there's not enough women out there. There actually are, they're just not really receiving that much funding. All while there's so much research that shows that having diverse teams, right, having the importance of diversity, the importance of inclusion, creates not only great social impact, but just way better economic return. A recent study showed that companies that have gender diverse teams, companies that have at least one woman on the team, outperform in revenue an all-male team by 63%. So the working across different geographies, starting different stuff, really motivated me to eventually launch very boldly at 23, 24, Saudi Arabia's first female-focused and inclusivity accelerator to change the narrative and create more opportunity. Now, just as a disclaimer, I'm about to get into my 3 pieces of advice, and what I've painted thus far might seem like this beautiful stairway where I just kept figuring things out and success started to happen and the pieces started to come together. But this graph is a way better graph of what my life is like, especially a lot more downs than ups. And so if you're a 20-something-year-old like me, if you want to create something or change something, I want you to take comfort in the fact that it's not so glamorous and glorious every day, and there are a lot more downs than ups. But to help you navigate this, I've come up with 3 top things, three of my key ways, that I really navigate, how to create or seize opportunity. They're unconventional pieces of advice, I might add. So here goes. And don't think I'm too crazy, maybe just a little, but not too. My pieces of advice are, I want you to stalk, and I want you to steal, and I definitely want you to lie. Now, I know it's pretty unconventional, like you don't really tell people to do these things. They're not necessarily things that we're really taught to do, right? It's like more be kind and put others first. But let me go into them one by one. Let's go first into stalk. By stalking, I mean to truly be extremely perseverant with the things that you want in life. I'll tell you a little story. When I graduated college, if you noticed already, I studied cognitive science, and then I went into the whole tech startup world. So I kind of jumped from career to career. And like many other people that graduate college, there's that first year or two where you're kind of lost and you're not really sure. Maybe you don't really love the first job you got out of college. You kind of feel confused. You're in another transition phase of your life. I felt like that when I first graduated college, especially also because I was studying abroad in California, and then shortly thereafter I came back to Saudi, so I really wasn't sure where to find my footing. But one thing that I knew for sure, if I, at the time, if I were to think back and say, well, maybe what helped me is I went back to a key goal that I wanted to do ever since I was a kid. Ever since I was in middle school, I was obsessed with TED Talks, and I would watch TED Talks on YouTube all the time. It was one of the key ways I would always learn and discover new exciting topics. And I felt that I had an idea worth sharing, but also I was like 22, 23-year-old, like who do I find that would, help me land a TEDx talk or a TED Talk? So I came up with a strategy to essentially start stalking. I said that I was going to go to conferences, I was going to go to meetups, I was going to meet people, and I was going to tell them about this idea that I would love to share, and network and really just share what's on my mind. So I did that, and I didn't really expect anything from it, but I met a lot of people for over a year and a half. I told different people the story that I thought would be really interesting. I didn't go directly to the TED website. That probably would have been a better idea, but I didn't. I just would share with people who I am and what I'm about, and thought maybe if I created a really powerful network, that somehow maybe that would help me, that just being perseverant in that way. Well, one day, my phone rang. I got a call. Hello, yes, hi. Is this Iman Shakur? I said, yes, this is Iman. And they said, we've had 3 different people say you have an idea for something worth sharing, and we're TEDx in Saudi, and we'd love for you to come and speak. And a year and a half after I started the journey of stalking, I gave a TEDx talk, and it was one of the most enchanting experiences ever. If you want to call it the law of attraction, if you want to call it being persevering, if you want to call it stalking, I think it worked, and it's definitely my advice to everyone else in whatever capacity your goal is. My second rule to success, if you remember after stalk, it is steal. I definitely, like, if any of these, so I think the way I even stalk and then steal, so it goes from the order of importance. This would be my second most important rule of thumb. I definitely want you to steal, and by stealing I mean to steal every single opportunity that comes your way. Likely it won't come multiple times, and really I think you just have to be prepared and hopefully self-aware enough of what you want, so when those opportunities present themselves to you, you're ready. Now, for me, this came in a quite odd story. This opportunity wasn't really obvious, but I still stole it. When I was 23, my dad is really addicted to WhatsApp, and he gets all these like WhatsApp messages all the time, and he just forwards them to me, and a lot of them are these like inspirational, motivational WhatsApp messages. So I'm 23, my dad forwards me this WhatsApp message of Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, speaking at the World Economic Forum. And he calls me after he sends it to me, and he says, oh my God, like, I really hope one day, like, my prayers for you is that, for you, my daughter, like, one day you go to the World Economic Forum. And I was like, yeah, Dad, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm sure like everyone would love to have that opportunity. One, I think like you have to, like, it's super expensive to go. And then 2, yeah, it's invite only. And it's not, at this point, I hadn't started, it was the very beginning of me starting Blossom Accelerator, which has been my most successful venture yet, but really not that much more to show for. And he was like, no, seriously, I one day I really hope that you go, and maybe not now, maybe when you're 40. And I was like, yeah, I mean, hopefully when I'm 40. And later that night I thought, well, like, I don't want to wait till 40. I mean, it's kind of a long time away, and I really do believe like young people shape the way the world works, or they should be part of it. So you know what, I'm going to Google this. So I literally went to Google, and I Googled how to go to the World Economic Forum. And surprisingly, I got a lot of links, a lot of information. I learned about this youth initiative, maybe a lot of you already know about it, called the Global Shapers Community. I applied. Applying and getting in doesn't mean you get to go to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, but it means that you get to be part of this amazing youth community of other like-minded game changer shapers from around the world. I got in, and a year to the date that my dad said, oh my God, I wish you would go to the World Economic Forum, I got an invitation to go to the World Economic Forum. Again, a law of attraction, or just really hard work and fiercely running after things. Either one, you decide. A lot of other global shapers and myself got to meet Bill Gates, and then also got to meet with and talk to the man who started the conversation all, himself, Jack Ma. And that's me in my blue blazer in the corner. And I think it was one of those moments where I was like, people talk a lot about, oh, you starting something and you trying something, but it was in that moment that all these different pieces came together, and a light bulb went off my head, and I said, I think we are, people in general, individually, we're a lot stronger than we give ourselves credit to. And we really have this immense opportunity to make things happen. I think often just what maybe holds us back is fear and self-doubt. So definitely steal every opportunity. This opportunity wasn't even so clear to me at the time. I just went for it because I think it's important to have that youthful optimism and go after the things that you want and go after the things that make you hungry. And last but not least, maybe not the most conventional piece of advice, I really hope you lie. And I think this is probably the most important part of the whole 3 pieces of advice. Look, life is not this, like the prior 2 stories I told you of, like, yeah, you want this dream and then you pursue it and then it comes. There's actually a lot more days that suck and aren't great. And on those days, when you wake up and you feel like a lot of things are just not going your way and it's unfair and the world is maybe inequitable, on those days, I hope you lie to yourself. I hope you lie to yourself and say, no, this is fine and I'm going to get through it, and there's going to be light at the other side, and after the worst of all things, it can only go up from here. My personal story going through this is my whole life from the age of 4 years old all the way up until my mid-20s, until now, but more severely in that period from 4 to around 24, I had daily seizures. I have epilepsy, and I would have around 50 seizures every single day. Through math classes, through school, through going to a restaurant, ordering something, through interviews. If an interviewer asked me a question, I would just have a seizure midway through anything, through other speaking opportunities, through a cute person talking to me and me trying to flirt back, but then it being interrupted through a seizure, through rock climbing. I mean, really, the list can go on and on and on. And when I would have a seizure, there are different kinds of seizures. I had absent seizures, which is a benign type, and then later it turned into grand mal seizures, which are what people know seizures more for, the more popular or kind where your body seizes and you fall on the floor. But during those moments, I can't hear, I can't see, I can't feel, I lose all track of time. It really is an unconscious sensory experience. And as a kid, when I was 10, going to school in Saudi, no one even understood what it was. Like, my teachers didn't know. They thought I was being possessed by the devil, that some demon probably entered my body and was taking over. Other teachers thought maybe I did it for attention. There was just this huge lack of awareness, and I got severely bullied. And maybe one of the things people don't talk about, and it's not very fun to talk about, when you have a seizure, you lose bladder control. So I'd be at school and I would lose bladder control, and I was just a really easy target for people to bully. And so as a 10-year-old, I didn't know how to make sense of it. I really didn't. But I had this little notebook, and in my notebook, I would make up reasons. That would really be essentially lying to myself. I really didn't believe most of these reasons. I would just say it to pat myself on the back because I just felt so excluded as in this world, and I felt it was unfair, and I didn't know what to do about it, and no medications were working, no doctors, what they were asking us to do, me and my family, wasn't helping. So I wrote down in my notebook, and I have this notebook until today, I wrote down my seizures or superpowers, and I have them for a reason. And I said, my seizures, maybe I have them because one day, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll be on a cover of a magazine, and maybe I'll be telling people that I had seizures, and I'll be helping other people who have seizures, and I'll be helping them understand that that's what makes them unique, and that they shouldn't be ashamed for it. Now, it didn't happen a year later or 2 years later, but Lord behold, it still happened. And you can't make this stuff up. I was invited to shoot the cover of Harper's Bazaar Arabia with will.i.am. It was called the Robotic Tech Revolution. And in the magazine, there was a 2-spread cover about me growing up with seizures and how I thought the world was inequitable in so many senses, especially when it came to disorder. And I can't tell you how many people reached out to me after that and said, oh, I have a daughter who has epilepsy, I have a son, I have a cousin, I have a brother, I have a husband, I have a wife. And I do believing in some capacity in something larger than life, and also sometimes pushing yourself through things really helps you get through it. And then from another capacity, for so long, even as the woman who started the female-focused accelerator in Saudi, I think I need a whole other talk about that in and of itself, but there's been so many challenges. I mean, too many to count. And there's been days where I've written in a notebook, one day I hope I can be on a male-dominated, cover of a magazine where, they mostly show men, and I want to be there to break, the status quo, and also like be the representation I needed when I was younger. And it ended up happening. So definitely I hope you stalk, definitely I hope you steal, and I definitely hope you lie. But I'll leave you with this. I'm really excited to take questions more about you and where you guys are located around the world. Whatever culture you're from, I think often it might feel like the culture or the society. That's what makes the people, right? If you're in Silicon Valley and there's this bro tech culture, it's only amongst men, or whatever culture you're part of, makes you feel like the culture makes the people. Actually take power in knowing that actually it's the people that make the culture. And you, listening here today, you are the people, and you are the change, and you are the culture. That's all I have for today. Again, my name is Iman. I would love to connect with you. This is my personal email. I did a barcode to my Instagram because that's where I'm most active on social media. I reply to all of my DMs. I really hope we can connect more after the session, and I'm really excited to learn more about all of you and take your questions. And hopefully throughout all that you saw my screen. Okay, I see a lot of comments. Okay, awesome. I'd love to do Q&A. Let me figure out how to do this, and maybe we can share the beautiful, maybe Stephanie, you can help me with this part?
Sure thing.
Awesome. So anyone who has a question, maybe if you could ask it via camera and audio, I think that would be terrific.
So you just press the blue button that tells you to share audio and video, and then we will let you on the panel.
Okay, so to the left, bottom left, or here. No, that's me turning off my camera. Never mind. Okay, let's
Anyways,
see.
While we wait for someone to join, I think Emmanuel had a very lovely question for you.
Okay.
What are the obstacles you meet or that you've met as a female entrepreneur?
Oh, I think to sum it up, there's a lot, but I think to sum it up is that there's so much unconscious bias. So I don't think that men or women, in particularly investors or what have you, I don't think any of the two parties mean it to have biases against women. I think a lot of what happens is actually very unconscious, and I think the root of it is really a lot of women and female founders are looked at as more liabilities than assets. Sometimes people communicate this indirectly, but essentially we know many men who have a newborn baby and then go back to work or have a company at the same time. And I think the way still a lot of the culture is and society is so much of that responsibility is still put on the weights of the woman. And so then investors, because they're still part of this culture and still part of the society, they look at women as liabilities, and that if she chose to have a family, then she wouldn't be as focused on her startup, she wouldn't be growing it as much because she has these other obligations that naturally society tells us that it's mostly women who should be taken care of than men. And I think there's a lot of other underlying issues, but I think a lot of the unconscious bias is the number one thing, and then being underestimated and sometimes really having to work harder for things than my counterparts do. So I'll share something too. I don't have like the most amazing vision in the world, and it's not a eye contact issue or a glasses issue, it's like a neuro issue. So Stephanie, if you can help me read some of these, because I can read them, but I'll take a lot slower time reading them.
Sure thing. We just got another question. So what was the last quote that you have mentioned? I lost connection. So from your slides, I believe.
Oh, sure. I'll just read it. So the quote was, "It might feel like the culture makes the people, but actually people make the culture. And you are the people, you are the change, you are the culture." And I really think that this is profound. Whether wherever you live around the world, I think often, as young people, we can just like, well, this is just the way it is. Like, this is just the way the government decided. This is just the way the policy is. This is just the way the world is, and I live in it. And I'm Yihai, and I'm one person. I'm like, what am I supposed to do about it? And like, I mean, what I was post about it on story on social media, and I've been part of that struggle. And I'm not going to say that that is automatically not there either, but I've also witnessed moments, cultivated moments myself, where I've also been able to say, wow, yes, okay, although this culture might, although this society might be this way, society doesn't just, it doesn't, it's not there on its own. People created that. And you're a person, you're part of this, you're this generation. We're probably the last generation that can really do something about it, where, it doesn't really exhaust our planet. So, I say this with hope for everyone listening, that if we really can be the change that we want to see in the world, as maybe cheesy as that can also sometimes sound.
Welcome, Emmanuel.
Welcome. Hi.
Good to see you.
Hello.
Good to see you. And that was really interesting. Thank you. And I have another question, and maybe about your inspiration. I was really agreeing that if you don't see it, you don't believe it, and so you can do it. And I wanted to know what are your inspiration that gives you the inspiration and also the motivation to keep on doing what your tech entrepreneur activities.
I look to, definitely other female founders. Sarah Blakely, for me, the founder of Spanx, is a huge inspiration. Growing up in Saudi, we used to get a lot of Oprah. I am a huge fan of Oprah, and into cultivating. I'm a huge fan of Beyonce. Into this fierceness, in creating that for ourselves. Whitney Wolfe, who's also the founder of Bumble, who recently took her company to an IPO, the youngest woman in history, is a huge inspiration to me. So those are just a few of the names, and I try to have as many mentors as I can possible, that I can get on phone calls with. I have a mentorship session tonight at 7 p.m. Saudi time. So I always have, I try to, as much as I can, surround myself with people that are positive and that can help guide me, because honestly, it's a lonely road. And if you don't have mentors, I don't care, no matter, I'm sure even the biggest CEOs of the world have mentors. I think it's just a fundamental thing. So I try to combine between both of those.
Thank you for the.
Thank you.
It's very inspiring.
Thank you so much. Where from the world are you joining us?
From France.
Oh, wow.
Paris.
Okay. My French is not so great, so I won't try, but maybe another day you can teach me a little bit of French.
Yeah,
I also know Iman. That's pretty much it. My name is Iman, so that'll be the starting
point. That's a good start. You have a good accent.
Oh my God, I love it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. We have another question in the Q&A session.
Okay.
Hang on. I can help you with that, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
There we go. So we have another question by Kinan. Have you ever felt guilty about taking an opportunity?
No. I mean, I feel not guilty, rather fearful, fear of rejection, like this is not going to pan out. I've talked to a lot of investors before, and when you pitch to them, it's like, yes, I would love your investment. It's not like I feel guilty for that I want it. Rather, I feel, oh my God, I'm just not going to get it. And sometimes that fear keeps me stuck. I'm a person who really believes in life coaching and therapy. I've a lot of that myself, because obviously everyone has issues to work through. My advice, if you feel guilty for seizing opportunity, is it might stem from down deep inside, maybe you thinking on some level that you don't deserve it. And I want to reassure you and tell you that that's competence that you deserve and are worthy of receiving because you're amazing. I mean, the fact that you try, I think any person who joins, some of these events or reads books or tries or reflects, sometimes when you're listening to music, you're in the car and you're in the zone, and there's some spiritual effort of you wanting to be something, to do something. I think you're deserving of reclaiming power and being powerful and getting anything that you want. So I personally don't feel guilty. I felt very fearful, and I've had to go and take a lot of life coaching sessions to break through that fear as well.
I can totally relate. Like, I'm currently in the same process of looking for a job, and I totally have the same feeling. Like, I'm sending an application letter and I already fear that they're not going to reply. And it's holding me back so many times to just not send that letter. So I can only agree with you on that.
You procrastinate, and then so that's why sometimes you just need the right group of people, the right friends that are positive. You put on the good music and you say, you know what, I'm just going to shoot my shot, and that's fine. And I didn't mention all the horrible failure stories. We need a whole other session for that in and of itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all can tell about these. I see another question by Erica. What should I do when I get inspired by too many things? I'm really terrible at choosing what to do with what inspires me.
I love that. Okay, Erica, right? That's I'll let you in on a secret. I actually struggle with that similar thing. It might seem it's all this pretty painted, from neuroscience to tech startup. That's just great storytelling and branding. I think most of us are multi-potentialites. There's a TED talk about it. I really encourage you to watch it. And essentially that you might be thrilled and inspired and excited by multiple different things. And my advice would be to absolutely go for it. Like who says that you have to be one thing? If you want to be pianist, physician, actress, public speaker / UX UI designer, go for it. And I think slowly, because people are starting to share their stories and share who they are, society started to change, and jobs have even started to really appreciate people that are multifaceted, good at doing multiple different things. Back during the Renaissance, people used to really value a person doing so many different things. Benjamin Franklin was a politician and a writer, and a physicist, so many different things. And then with time, something in the educational system changed, and we became so much more focused. And it's okay if you're a focused person, but I think we don't celebrate enough people who have multiple inspirations and have multiple talents. And I think you won't be able to ever succeed remotely in anything if you hold yourself back by, oh my gosh, but I like too many things to pursue all of them. At some point, I was pursuing acting and stand-up comedy, and I was majoring in cognitive science, and I was taking coding classes because I wanted to dive into tech startups. And at the time, everyone was like, you're crazy, what are you doing? You're not focused. But it really, you at the end of the day know what's best for you. And if you have that desire, pursue it. Especially if you're young, pursue it. And even if you're older, honestly, still pursue it.
I really, really love that, because you usually hear people say you have to focus on one thing. So I really appreciate that.
And one last thing for people who think, okay, no, Iman, you should focus, because I get that too. It is in my humble opinion that actually the more you learn about art, it inspires history. You learn more about history. The more you learn about history, you understand a little bit more about geography. The more you learn geography, architecture, and actually all these disciplines, they actually are very much interconnected. And I think you can use that to your advantage. And so I think also it's about creative thinking, and I think I don't personally believe in the narrative of only focusing. I think sometimes playing with what your strengths are, if they tend to be 5 or 10, could bring out the best and most creative you.
I totally agree with you. We have a follow-up question from Keenan regarding your fears. What do you do to deal with them?
Whew. Okay, did you hear that? Woo! It's hard. That's why. That's where that noise comes from. So I write affirmations to myself. Like, what are the affirmations that I say to myself every morning? And like writing them down and saying them in the moment, I'm like, oh, what does my life come to? I'm writing these affirmations and I have to repeat them every day, but it helps. So for example, I have a lot, and they're like all over my bedroom wall. But one of them is, I am able, it is possible, it can be done. And I'll just keep repeating it with like fierce Beyonce music in the background. So that's definitely one way. And the second time is every single time I feel unworthy, undeserving, fearful, think that I will fail, I take out my iPhone and I write it down in my notes. And I say, what triggered that? Why did I feel that? What time was it? What triggered it? What happened? And then when I start having an awareness of the patterns, when I start having an awareness of, this happened, it triggered it, then I start toughening up and being able to not let whatever old wounds, unresolved feelings I have from the past, I'm allowed to have that not affect my present. And then Beyonce music never fails as well.
True. That's really true. But I absolutely agree. Like, raising awareness is so important, and a very, like Rona says it in the chat, this is a very really smart way to cope with it. So, like, I think I personally, for example, have a motivational list of songs that I use every single time I have to get inspired. And I think some of you here do too. Emmanuel at least has one, I see. So this is really, really exciting. I don't see another question, so I'm going to ask you one that popped up for myself, because you talked about failures and that you could do another session about just talking about failures. And I thought about, how do you get out of these? Like, when I experience failure, I usually get in a very dark mood and it takes a lot of time to get out. Do you have any tips on how to get out of these moods, for example?
Absolutely. Well, first, I can really relate, because I honestly think starting a company, there's so many things you don't know beforehand, and failures are inevitable. And first, I let myself soak a little bit. So I'll do the 2 days of Netflix marathon shows, sitting in bed, eating cold pizza in the dark, looking like a very unhot mess. I can't even say hot mess. And I let it sulk a little bit. I try to journal to get it all out. And then I put a plan. And then I put a plan and say, okay, what's the bounce back plan? And most importantly, what kind of iman do I need to be, and do I need to show up to be every day so I can make these goals happen? So let's say I got rejected from a job and I thought I was the most qualified person. You know, it was really like, I thought for sure they were going to accept me, and they didn't. And now I like have very little money left in my bank account. Okay, I sulk for a very small period of time because I have to bounce back. I have to keep moving. And I say, okay, but what kind of iman do I need to work on so I can attain the goals? I think so much of the failure part is that we blame ourselves, and we tie not getting things with saying, I'm crap, I'm not good. We tie it to our self-worth. But we have to separate them, and we have to say, no failure. That just is, sometimes life does that, and focus back on my self-worth. Okay, what do I need to do? Okay, maybe I need to exercise. Maybe I need to focus more on meditation. Maybe I need to reconcile with some of my friendships. Maybe whatever that is for you, work on you, and you will find that with time, maybe it's a month later, maybe it's 6 months later, your goals will start to align better, and you will feel better about yourself. So I think it's a lot of inner work. I hope that's helpful.
To me, it definitely is. I think this is really good advice. And I see that a couple of people in the chat think so as well. Let me have a look. We have another question by Given from Luyan Shaya, YMCA in Zambia. Welcome. What can I do if I do have the opportunity that I had, but it was not the one which inspired me the most, but I want to do what inspires me, but I have financial challenges and I have to do something different to keep up? What advice do you have?
So if I understand the question correctly, you have an opportunity. It's not the best one that you want. You have other things that you rather do, but financially you should take it, because financially. I have two pieces of advice for this. One, there is a blessing just generally. Let's say I'm going to remove the financial part. there's a deep amount of blessing in not taking every opportunity that comes your way. Because if you take every opportunity that comes your way, you're going to be overwhelmed, you're going to be burnt out, you're not going to have enough time for yourself. Your showers won't be as fun because it's going to be like only 5 minutes instead of 15 minutes. You won't be able to see your friends. You'll be talking this fast. You won't be able to digest your food. You won't have time to think. You won't have time to sleep. You'll have anxiety. Then you'll have panic attacks. So don't take every opportunity. There is a blessing in saying, thank you, next. No, maybe not for me. No. There's amount of self-worth that you have for yourself to understand that this is not the right opportunity for me. It's an opportunity, but maybe it's not the best time. Maybe it's not the best money. Maybe it's just no. So you understand that and give yourself enough value and self-worth to say no to things. I think sometimes we have trouble doing that as young people. The second part is if you're pressed for time, right? If it's something financial or that maybe you're, have payments for your school, for your education that you need to keep paying, I don't think it's a bad idea to take the current opportunity that you have, all whilst don't forget to be true to who you are and work on a way to eventually go from that, stay it in a year, maybe 2 years, and then switch. This idea of like, oh, I shouldn't switch. What are they going to say about my resume? Stop thinking about all of that kind of stuff. You can always rebrand, story tell, share a better story. If you need to do it for the money at the time being, I would say if that is the case scenario, that's fine. But go into it with that intention of saying, okay, I'm taking this opportunity for now, but I'm not going to stay here forever. And we have another, hello, Nicolai.
Hi, Nicolai. So just to introduce myself, I am a young female activist from the Philippines, a developing country. And, it's really difficult to put my voice out there in the world. And a lot of my peers really I've seen so much potential in them. However, when we discuss how the ways that we can put our potential to use, it's there are a lot of challenges really. It's like they don't have the resources and they don't know how to get mentors and opportunities. So my question is, how do we reach out to young people, especially from marginalized groups, to give them or to make them aware of the opportunities that are available?
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your question. I think I'm going to answer it in two ways. So first of all, in terms of resources and getting access or mentorship or meeting other young people, the way I did it in my early days is I would create meetup pages. I don't know if you might have that meetup in the Philippines, but at different coffee shops, and I'd do a specific topic around startups, women empowerment, or equity and inclusion, and I would meet new people through those meetups, and we would bond over our, shared things that we'd go through, shared pains and shared happiness. We would bond over that, and I created through that a network of women that understood me, that I could relate to. Another way in general, obviously, I'll give you advice for a post-COVID world. I'm a huge active person on LinkedIn. I look for people that have profiles that seem interesting to me, even if they're like 45 or 60 years old. I connect with them and I send them a very personalized message. And I promise you, like 7 out of 10 times, someone replies and they're down to do like a Zoom call, to do a mentorship. And I essentially will ask them a specific question, like, I'm looking to do this event. I need a sponsor. I'm looking to get access to more resources. Who could help, whatever it is specifically that I'm trying to do. And obviously that process will take anywhere between 1 month to 3 months to 4 months. But I keep doing that, and shortly I find that all the different connections start coming together. My second thing is, and this part might be controversial, but I'm going to just give you my 2 cents. I think as women around the world, the truth is we are all born into a very patriarchal, still male-dominant society. Like if you look around the world, wherever you live, most of the presidents, most of the CEOs, most of the people who run the show, like even if we're not conscious of it, even like the unconscious 3-year-old you or 3-year-old me probably was like, huh, well, where are all the women at, right? And I think the truth about that is that we've become victims to the patriarchy, to this super male dominant world. So in order for us not to become victims, because we don't want to live our life being victimized, right? But we have to first acknowledge that first layer that I feel like most people don't want to acknowledge. There's like a lot of like self-reflection and understanding. Yes, I am a victim to this. This is why I feel like my voice isn't heard. This is why there's confidence issues, there's self-worth issues, all these things. Then you work on the second part, which is reclaiming your power back. Which is finding your voice after. So you no longer have that narrative of, if that makes sense, that this world is a society and world that externally keeps hurting me and I'm sitting here and I can't do anything about it. I think there is power in understanding I would no longer accept this kind of treatment behavior, and I will find a way, a network, a community, a mentorship to rise above and create something. And in that rise, there's going to be a lot of people trying to hit you on the head saying, no, don't, be quiet. But it is just about at least realizing that that's going to happen and having a strategy for growth. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much. That's such a wonderful answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikolai. We are having not that much time left, but there are 2 more questions, and I really want to get them
I'll answer
answered.
them quickly if we have time. Quickly.
Exactly, we do a quick one. So
Okay.
The first question is, what should I do when fear gets in the way, such as people looking down on me, letting down someone who has been looking up on me, or more things related to social life?
In short, you really have to live your life for yourself. I think it's good that you are aware of the fact that you do that. I would journal, and I would really live life for you. You don't want to wake up one day and be a certain age and have a life that you're like, this is not my life. Stop this movie. Why am I the actor in this movie? This is not for me. Let's play a different movie. And I think there's different practices for you to find courage, whether it's through exercise, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through coaching yourself, to find that courage and just be the most authentic you. And you will actually eventually make those people happy by being who you are. Maybe you don't realize it now, but in the long term, maybe they don't understand who you want to be and who the best version of you is. But then when you get there and you are your best version, you'll see all those people will be like, oh my God, this is so amazing. We love the person you are. Life is like that.
That's true. All right, moving on immediately to the next question by Rona. Failure is a part that most of the people do not want to experience, but do you think it is necessary to confront it throughout taking opportunities?
Yes, I do. I think it builds resilience. I think it builds strength, courage, self-worth, identity. There's a lot of like messed up emotions that happen when you fail. And when life